see your video, but hopefully there'll be another venue that we can all get together and see that. I'm sure it's well, certainly it's well done. So look forward to it. Next, we are coming to see us is I'm going to introduce the Consul General. Yinam Cohen is the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. He is a career diplomat with 15 years of experience in the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Before arriving in Chicago, he held a position of Senior Policy Advisor to Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi and the Director of the Policy Department in the Minister's Bureau. Prior to that, Consul General Cohen was the Director of the UN Political Affairs Department, where he oversaw Israel's diplomatic campaigns in the UN Security Council and the General Assembly in Israel. He has served in diplomatic capacities for the State of Israel to Spain, to Spain, Germany, and Colombia. Please stand and give a warm welcome to the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest, Yinam.
Thank you. Good evening. Erev Tov, Shavua Tov. Thank you. Just yesterday, I came back from a quick visit in Israel. As many of you know, there is a new government in the country, and it is the most diverse government in the history of Israel. The most valuable lesson that I've learned from our unprecedented pluralistic coalition is that there is always room for everyone at the table. And this is a message about Israel I want to convey to the Black community and to the Jewish community today. Come with your curiosities, your questions, even your concerns. Let's have a conversation about it and engage meaningfully. Let's discuss the transformative process that our communities have gone through to address what our communities are facing today. Because it seems as though we made it. Black America made it. Jews made it. Israel made it. From the chains of slavery to the White House. From centuries of yearning for the ancestral homeland to the reality of the state of Israel. Apparently, we're finally where we wanted to be. But what was once slavery and exile has taken on new forms: racism, anti-Semitism, discrimination, hate crimes, and inequality. Another era of struggle for social justice has emerged among the Black community, demanding not only equal rights, but equal representation, equal opportunity, and equity, and demanding accountability for the unjust taking of life. The news for the Jewish community isn't news at all. 2021 was claimed to be the most anti-Semitic year worldwide in the past decade. Already in 2022, Jews are being held hostage in their house of worship in Texas. Their businesses, schools, and synagogues are being vandalized, even here in Chicagoland. Israel is condemned despite achieving in its short 73 years of existence what some countries haven't been able to achieve in centuries. A coalition government and a parliament that represents all the members of our diverse nation, Jews and Arabs, Muslims, Christians, Druze, Ethiopians, second-generation Holocaust survivors, people with disabilities, and the list goes on. The Black community and the Jewish community know the significance of history. When others try to delegitimize our historical struggles, to distort our motives, we must bring the legacy of our ancestors to the present. I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who brought his freedom movement all the way to Chicago, not far from where the first Black president of the United States would build his political career, where Harold Washington would become the first Black mayor of Chicago, and where people sitting in this very room would become pioneers in Chicago's Black political leadership. It was also here in Chicago that that Dr. King met Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who would one day march with him in Selma. Dr. King dedicated his life to the civil rights movement, and he understood something crucial about Israel. He said, "I see Israel as one of the great outposts of democracy in the world, and a marvelous example of what can be done, how desert land can be transformed into an oasis of brotherhood and democracy." What united King and Heschel was beyond shared historical narratives of bondage. It was beyond shared empathy. It was shared inspiration. In one of his most famous speeches, abolitionist Frederick Douglass quoted a 2,500-year-old Hebrew poem of exile and longing to Israel, which you may know as Psalm 137. By the rivers of Babylon we sat down, we wept when we remembered Zion. How can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? The inspiration was mutual, and the values were mutual. And that is what brings us together tonight. The Black community has made this land a homeland, and its extraordinary leaders have brought countless scientific, political, and cultural contributions to America. My grandparents came to Israel in the 1930s from countries in the Middle East that later expelled 850,000 Jews. These are some of the same countries with whom Israel is now forging peace through the historic Abraham Accords. The grandparents of my wife, Ayelet, survived the Holocaust, came to Israel, and have lived to see Israeli-German relations stronger than ever. History tells Black America, Israel, and the Jewish people that we will overcome again. Another thing it tells us is that we are historical allies. My vision as Consul General of Israel to the Midwest is to refortify our inter-community conversation and action, making our historical allyship only a seed in comparison to the blossoming present and future partnership between Black America, Jews, and Israel. The consulate is already working to connect us by implementing Israeli experiences in mental health, urban agriculture, technology, and entrepreneurship. These are tools for partnerships with community organizations and leaders which are already working on the south and west side. I want to extend a partnering hand and make a sincere call to join forces, not by meeting once a year at a comfortable event, but by discussing issues that unite us and issues that divide us. By deepening our relationship through consistent growth and interaction, and by learning about each other's unique struggles. By looking out for our own communities, but also looking out for each other. That is why the rest of this evening will be dedicated to people like Prince Asiel, whose rich legacy connects Black America, Africa, and Israel. That is why we are so glad to be working with the Shiloh Institute today, under the leadership of Christina King, who has years of experience in Black, Jewish, Israel relations. As we prepare the way for present and future generations, our greatest battles are still ahead. Let's win them together. Thank you.